Hey, I'm gonna introduce myself as I am not the boy that lived. I'm the nigga that died. I don't know if that makes any sense or wouldn't make sense off the bat, but I'm gonna tell you now that is the principle behind who I am. And the reason why I introduce myself like that, I say we live in a world that is based off perception. And if you are very good at creating a perception, you find yourself to be quite successful. But we don't live in a world where we have a lot of people that are able to change and make an impact that is positive or negative or make an impact, really. We don't live in that kind of world. And this is why I'm actually here to introduce the art behind creating new realities. So the reason why I started off with this, I ain't the boy that lived, I'm the nigga that died. And if you understand what I'm saying, you know it's here, Harry Potter. Harry Potter. If you read any of your books, watched the movie, you would know that Harry Potter is called the boy that lived. The boy that lived. And there's the whole story about him, how he survived death when he was born. I think he was attacked by some guy called Voldemort. The whole story about him. So if you understand the background, you know what I mean. So I'm not Harry Potter, that's what I'm saying. If you imagine a magician, white magic, I'm not that guy. I'm not the type of guy. I don't have those type of tricks. Right? But I am the nigga that died. And then the reference and the principal illustration that I have from that is a man called SHEMBE. And I got that in inverted commas. Because SHEMBE himself doesn't claim any of his capabilities. So I'll break it down. Let me break it down for you. It's like saying he's called a prophet. And just to explain what a prophet is, if you guys are not really paying attention, a prophet has the ability to foresee or predict what is coming. So, in the context of understanding, actually knowing how to create new realities, you have to be able to predict and say, this is the reality I am trying to create. So, that's why I would say I didn't put the word there, prophet, SHEMBE, because that's only one of the attributes that he demonstrated. But anyways, unfortunately, for a lot of people that don't know, SHEMBE is a guy that started a congregation or movement. I'll call it a movement. I won't call it a church. I'll call it a movement because of what it actually, because of the intent behind the whole movement. It has an intention, and like I said, the people that follow the movement are basically about to witness the intent behind the origins of the movement. And this movement is called UBUNAZARETHA. This is the, if it were to be formed, the Nazarite Baptist Church. Right, so he's the founder of that, but why I put it in inverted commas, he doesn't claim that it was his idea to start this congregation. So I'm going to put there question mark, whose idea was it? So, and I'll say that is the nigga that died. Right? That's his idea, And what SHEMBE and what UBUNAZARETHA practice, which is, again, might come as a newsflash. UBUNAZARETHA practice black magic. Right. So what is the difference between black magic and white magic? I'll break it down. White magic is, if you notice, if you watch any of the Harry Potter movies, you have a spell book with a whole bunch of gibberish in. Like a whole bunch of gibberish. Askebelibi, blah, blah, you know what I mean? A whole bunch of gibberish. And we call it gibberish. Gibberish. Book. Alright? That's number one, right? That's number one, right? Number two, you have a wonder. Right. So, as you see in the movies, you got like gibberish. You gotta say something gibberish, and then you gotta wave your wand. And without these two, you can't perform the magic. So now I want to define this for you. Say white magic. It's just an illustration now. It's basically the art of creating a perception, an illusion. So if you have seen any magician wouldn't claim to actually have pulled the rabbit out of a hat. They give you the illusion that they did. So that is what a magician is. So you get what I'm saying. So we live in a world, when it comes down from the illustration I gave you, Harry Potter, down to what a magician actually does, like the magicians that we know of, we've heard of, down to like all walks of life in terms of commerce. So here's the idea, like you'd hear you have to look the part. You have to, wear a suit and then you be taken seriously. Or you need to be, you need to have nice branding and you work on your marketing material to attract people. So you have to create a perception. So a lot of effort is put into creating a perception of success, or so that you can gain success. Most of the time, if you've actually watched like adverts, just put it there, adverts, selling dreams, dude. Selling dreams. Adverts is just selling fucking dreams, dude. Selling dreams. Meaning, like, I'll sit down on the couch and I'll sit down and I'll be sitting there with, I don't know how to describe it, but like my homie for days, and we'd be sitting down and be watching some TV and an advert comes up like, vanish superpower. So I ask you like, hey, you think this vanish thing works? And it's like, hey, don't work for shit. You know what I mean? So it's like, then why put all this effort into advertising something that doesn't work as well as you present it to? Surely you take some of that money and make sure that it actually works as good as you think it should. Surely everybody would know that vanish works, bro. I don't even have to see the advert. I know this thing works. I'm just going to go out to the store and I'm going to buy it because it works. But no, we live in a world where we're going to buy it because at some point they created the perception that it does work. And then even though we're disappointed that it doesn't work quite as well as we thought it was, it works enough for us to keep buying it. But it doesn't work as well as the dream we were sold. So now I'm jumping into this. It's 8 minutes into this recording, and now I'm just thinking, shit. Let's jump into the real thing, black magic, and why do I reference as I said. So this is the art of creating, new recording, and now I'm just thinking, shit. Let's jump into the real thing, black magic, and why do I reference as I said. So this is the art of creating, new realities. So there's a reason why Isaiah SHEMBE can be called a prophet, because he's predicting what's going to happen in the future, and he gets and his predictions. So what makes him different to a normal prophet, like Isaiah, Zechariah, the biblical prophets, the Prophet Muhammad. Well, not so much Prophet Muhammad, but Prophet Muhammad shares a similar quality. But I'll go into that. And that it's one thing to make a prediction, but it's another thing to make sure that your prediction comes true. So what do I mean by make sure? So to take actions that will ensure that your prediction comes true. I'll give you an example. If I'm betting on horses, right? If I'm going to predict that this horse is going to win, right? There's one thing just predicting that, choosing a horse that's going to win. It's another thing going out and conspiring back in to make sure that that horse or the other horses are not on the top game, or the creating a situation or creating an environment that will ensure that your horse wins. So Isaiah SHEMBE is that type of dude. So he's more than a prophet because he made interventions to ensure that his predictions were correct. But I'll go into his predictions. So the whole point why I make this is that black magic has 3 steps, right? Right? So I'm gonna go similar thing. You gotta consecrate, right? Consecrate means that you gotta disclose your intentions. Disclose your intentions. Right, that's step 1. So we don't have a spell book, right? So in black magic context, it can be either a dream, a vision, or an omen. So what SHEMBE did, he took the omen. An omen is something that you see on the outside. So you see something happening, right? That's an omen. So I don't know if you're in front of me. Dreams, visions, omens. Dreams when I'm asleep, vision when I'm awake, and omen when I'm paying attention to something that's happening outside of me, in my environment. When I pick up, oh, hang on, there's some poo on the floor here. It must be a dog that just walked past here. Or it must be a goat that walked past here. Or it must be a cow that walked. So that's picking up on an omen. There's something that happens on the outside. So what SHEMBE did, he picked up the omen, and this omen was called the Bible. That's an omen. Right. Step 2. You have to. Right. So black magic, the art of black magic is like, this is not the law of attraction and all of this. Just say good things and it will gravitate towards you. No, that's not how it works. Black magic, you got to consummate. Like straight up, consummate. Like, why I use that word consummate? If I'm gonna have a baby with a woman, I'll have sperm or I have semen in my ball sack, and she's got ovaries in her womb. I gotta so for a baby to happen, I can consecrate all I want. I can say, I want to have a baby. We can do that. We're gonna have a baby. But unless we consummate, we can never bring forth a baby. Is that understood? So this is what I'm saying. Same thing with like normal life. If I'm gonna have a baby, I'm gonna have to take and put it inside of her, and eventually inject my semen inside of her and hope and ensure that it's the right time of her cycle for the seed to catch, and so that the baby or fetus can start forming and the baby can start, growing in her womb. So I use the word consummate so that you understand what is meant. So it's not always in a sexual context, the principle behind having sex is consummating. Right, so, but incidentally, it might not be a good example because in the world we live in, people don't intend to make babies, but they consummate either way. It's just like, oh, yeah, oh, baby, oh, ish. And I think this is why we have problems. But anyways, that's another discussion. So what I mean by this is that black magic now, second level of black magic, this would be, consummating would be the equivalent of Harry Potter's wand. Consecrating would be the equivalent of Harry Potter's gibberish book. But what is the difference? Consecrating, disclosing your intentions, being very clear, communicating an idea, and being very clear and painting a very clear picture, not gibberish. And nobody understands what Harry Potter's saying when he's... We only see the perception or the illusion he creates at the end. So, very clear, when you consecrate, you gotta disclose your intentions. So, what Shembe did, he took this omen and this Bible disclosed the intentions of the author. I would have said, I would have said the God of that Bible. So people always attribute the Bible. So the intentions of the author were disclosed. So that's consecrated, really. And someone's like, whoa, hold up, nigga, we see this. I see this shit. And this is what I'm saying, that what inspired Shembe to do this, he doesn't claim that he did. He claimed that he was yanked out of his life. He had like 3 wives, cattle, a life. And he was like told, yo nigga, I need you to get your ass all the way to Lanangazi, bro. And he gone through a process, of course, of like, I'm dragging my feet, I ain't trying to do that shit, you know what I mean? But he eventually got his ass out to Lanangazi, and he got the idea to consummate what's been consecrated by starting a movement called UBUNAZARETHA. Right, so this movement, UBUNAZARETHA, are people who follow a set of rules, perform rituals and customs, and preserve these customs. So, and this is quite interesting, anyone that becomes a Nazarite is basically taking a special vow to Keta Inkosi Yasek Pagame. And this is quite an interesting thing, but I'll go into that. So, what Isaiah Shembe's prediction was that the God described in the Bible is the God of UBUNAZARETHA. And this is how UBUNAZARETHA had to follow his regulations in order to ensure that the God of the Bible shows up. So, you see here, the third step is to create, a reality where the God of the Bible shows up. God of the Bible shows up. You get what I'm saying? So this is creating a new reality. And I'll go into this and just say why this is important. So why I'm saying this is this. This is what I'm saying. So the idea is that here is the God of the Bible described in the Bible. In the Bible is described, I'm going to be a son of man. This is what I want to do. I'm going to be king over my people. Jerusalem is going to be my city. Israel will be my people. And I'm going to gather all the nations. And I'm going to dominate everybody. And everybody is going to be, in the Bible. And she'll be like, oh, hang on. We get the picture. We get the idea. But let's put it into context. If we put it into context, that God, that idea is going to play out in this context. And the context is, the God of the Bible is actually the king of the Zulu people. Nkosi yasiphakame. Right, so he is gonna be that king that dominates everybody and does his thing. So that's what he did. So I'm going into this, and I don't want to make this too long, and I'm just gonna say that's how I'm gonna end this, and I'm gonna describe, and I'm gonna go into this in further lectures and sermons. But I hope this is clear. See the difference between black magic and Harry Potter's, spell book. Fundamentals of black magic, and I'll highlight here is to consecrate and then consummate. Why do we consummate? So we can put the idea into its rightful place. The same way a man has to put his semen into the rightful place, so that the potential so that a baby can be made, so that a fetus can start growing, so that the sperm can meet the egg and the fetus can start growing in the womb. So you got to put it into the right context. So here's an idea, put it in its right context, and what do we see? We see the reality come. So this is all about creating new realities. So what makes SHEMBE more than just a prophet is the fact that the omen of the Bible, what was predicted in the Bible, he put the controls, he consummated and put the controls in place to ensure that the God of the Bible shows up in his rightful context. And I'm going to break it down. And this is going to introduce my next sermon that's going to be called Motherfucking Jacob. And I'm going to break it down in that sermon to say what that actually means, But anyways, I hope it was good. And I think fundamentally, just before we get too far ahead of ourselves, fundamentally, the difference between a nigga that died and the boy that lived is I'm not trying to create a perception. I'm not trying to paint an illusion or make an illusion, give you the illusion that something is. Everything that I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to be practicing black magic, and that's the art of creating new realities.